this event today. So welcome to all our folks out across our campuses across Wake County. Thanks for joining us, and be sure if you have questions at the end, you can send those in on your question panel and raise your hand. So thanks for joining us via computer. And thank you to all of you that are here today and joining us for this spectacular event. I just wanted to first welcome you to Wake Tech's Western Campus, and thrilled that you can join us today. I've already met, I think, everyone, but just to reiterate, I'm Barbara Brothers, the Executive Director for Corporate and Business Solutions. And for those of you not fully familiar with Corporate and Business Solutions, we operate like a small business, actually, inside of Wake Tech. And our team thinks like entrepreneurs. So we're an interesting mix, an interesting group in the college, and happy to be a part of bringing this to you today. If you'd like to learn more about Corporate and Business Solutions, please visit us on the web at corporatesolutions.waketech.edu. And you can send in, if you have questions after that, please contact us. There's a way for you to fill out any questions that you may have. So this is the final of 5 events recognizing Women's History Month at Wake Tech. We had, for those of you maybe not familiar with the full series, we had a Women's Resource Fair earlier this month. We celebrated, someone who attended and found value. We celebrated women in the military, so thank you for joining us as well. We celebrated women in healthcare. And we celebrated women as leaders earlier this week. And we have two of our panelists here today. Thank you both for serving and sharing your stories. I think a lot was learned from those of us who attended it. Today, we celebrate Trailblazing Women Entrepreneurs. These are folks that we'll get to meet shortly. And these events involved a lot of different areas and really touched every part of Wake Tech. And we were able to hold all of these events at 4 of our 7 campus locations. Woo-hoo! All right. That's tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. So as you can see, as you guys know, that's a lot of ground to cover physically and geographically. That's a lot of departments and areas within Wake Tech. And we are so thankful to have one of Wake Tech's finest bring all of this to us by leading the charge. Sandra Bose, thank you so much. So for those of you who don't know Sandra, when she's not leading the charge on Women's History Month for Wake Tech, she is based at our Cary Health Sciences campus as our Student Activities Coordinator. Sandra, thank you so much. You've done a spectacular job with this series, and so well, in fact, all of us are already looking forward to how you're going to top it next year. We'll make it happen. We're looking forward to it. So thank you for that. Thank you. So I'd like to introduce our panel moderator right now, Lori Clowers. She is our VP of Communications and Marketing here at Wake Tech. Lori had a long and successful career as a news anchor, reporter, and producer. She leads the team that provides public relations, graphic design, marketing, and communications to support the entire Wake Tech team. And let me tell you, that is one big position and department. It literally touches everything we do, every department, every director. They have a very big job and role to do here at Wake Tech, and we are very appreciative to Lori and her team for doing it and doing it so very well. So what I'd like to do now is welcome Lori to the stage and have her introduce our panelists for today.
Well, thank you. This is a treat for me. Yesterday, I got to be on a women's leadership panel for women leaders at Wake Tech, and today I get to ask the questions. So this actually is a place where I feel most comfortable, is being the one asking the questions as opposed to answering. So thank you very much for having me. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines a trailblazer as someone who makes a new track through a wild country, a pioneer, an innovator. Mr. Webster must have known our panelists today. Each of our trailblazers started their own businesses at a time when there were few, if any, women entrepreneurs. Yet, they not only started successful companies, they did it in style, earning awards and accolades along the way. They have all, after they have all shared their stories with us today, we're going to open up the floor for questions. So I want you to join me in welcoming our three panelists, and we're going to get started with Shelia Ogle. Now, Shelia worked in advertising for 20 years before opening her own advertising firm in Cary. She started one of the first co-working spaces in the Triangle, created a wedding and event venue, and then added a catering business. She formed the Cary Community Foundation and the Ogle Family Fund. And she owns that magical pink house on Academy Street just up the road in Cary. It's the pink Victorian home, and it's so beautiful. Shelia is a serial and social entrepreneur and also serves on the Wake Tech Board of Trustees. Shelia, we thank you so much for all you do for Wake Tech and for supporting our institution. Please join us and tell us your story.
Well, thank you, Lori. And I knew Lori from way back in her days when she was doing all that stuff, producing and working at WREL. When I worked at WREL, which was many, many, many years ago. But this is a real treat for me to be behind the podium, because usually at our trustees meeting, I'm sitting out here. So this is kind of fun for me. But yeah, in the marketing materials, they were calling us entrepreneurs and trailblazers, as Lori said. And you know, an entrepreneur is like a business person or tycoon, or they say an industrialist or a financier or a capitalist. And as Lori said, a trailblazer, a pioneer, a leader, an innovator, an entrepreneur, a creator. But I will tell you that a leader is a person that takes people where they would not normally go on their own. And I would say to you that we are risk takers with a vision, an idea or a dream, or a way to make a better life for our families and for ourselves. We go into business for ourselves so that we can work 80 hours a week instead of 40. Right? But, you know, the thing about it is it's for ourselves. We have long hours. We wake up in the middle of the night wondering how we're going to make the next payroll, or how we're going to pay rent or the utility bill. And how in the world are we going to handle all the work single-handedly that we brought in, but then we worry about how are we going to get the next customer. So what in the world would have made me leave the security of a job, a paycheck, benefits, vacation? Was I crazy, or was it because I found out that I really was a risk taker with a vision? I was at Howard Maryland Partners for 20 years, but there was no room for growth there. I was not challenged, and there was little opportunity for a woman that didn't have an MBA. I was in my mid-40s with a long working career ahead of me. My husband had left me for another woman. My children were gone, but I had a great personal relationship with a wonderful man that later became my husband. I knew if I quit, I could always find another job because I had a lot of contacts in the advertising industry. But I also knew that I had saved enough money that I could live on for a year if things really got hard. Was I crazy, or was I just having a midlife crisis? Did I quit But when I quit, as soon as I did, the idea for my first company began to crystallize in my mind. And I learned at that time that when the pain of staying where you are is greater than the pain of doing something different, it's time to take the next step. The biggest challenge in starting that business was learning how to sell my company and not just sell my work. How to manage a real company and not just a department. And how to manage people and how to network. Oh my Lord, we had to network like crazy. We had to make connections and get recognized in the business world as a business person and not just an employee. After starting my ad agency, I guess the best decision I ever made was hiring my first employee, which was probably the scariest thing I've ever done in my life. Because now I not only had to worry about funding my company, but now I had another mouth to feed. And it was terrifying to think about that responsibility. And so I went to a personnel company and hired this gal part-time so that I didn't really have to feel like I was totally responsible for her. And so I called the personnel company and I told them that I wanted an employee that was outgoing, that could talk on the phone really good, and that had computer experience. So they sent me Becky. Well, Becky came into my office and she probably had the lowest self-esteem of anybody I have ever seen in my entire life. She sat through the interview, she never lifted her head. She had Mac experience, no PC experience, but she was living and breathing, and she could start the next day. And so I hired her. I hired her. I did. But I will tell you, she turned out to be, she worked for me for 17 years, and she was absolutely one of the best employees I ever hired, because what that did is she was able to sit at that front desk. You know, I had a real gatekeeper. She became my gatekeeper. But she would answer the phone, she learned how to do the computer, you know, and it was just, it allowed me to go out and sell my company and to bring in more business for the company. So I knew that I could not grow my company unless I did that. And so my company actually did begin to grow, and it thrived. And I was in business for 25 years until I sold that company 5 years ago. But I'll tell you a funny personal story. My daughter is an attorney, and she started her business just like I did, one-person company, and she had, I think we'd given her office space at the ad agency to start out with, and she would run down to the courthouse and do a case, and she would come back and make copies and answer the phone and make appointments. And I said, Elizabeth, if you don't hire somebody, a paralegal or an intern, I'm going to go to Meredith and I'm going to take a paralegal course, and I'm going to come and I'm going to go to work for you. And so she hired somebody. And, you know, her company now is thriving and she's doing really good, but we really do laugh about that. But anyway, at about the time that, while I had my advertising agency, I saw a lot of opportunities before me, and it was a challenge. And I learned that I could hire really smart people and surround myself with those people, and they could accomplish my vision, that I didn't have to do everything. And so that idea really was one of the best things that I ever learned, is that you can hire really smart people, let them do what they need to do. It makes you look really good, but it makes them look even better. So I learned at that time too that it's important to work on your business and not always in your business, and to get involved in the community, and above all, to give back to your community, because that's one of the best things, one of the best networking things that you can do, is to get involved with nonprofits and get on nonprofit boards and give back to those nonprofits of the knowledge that you've accumulated through the years. And also to help and mentor other women. Because when Lana and Pat and I started our businesses, we didn't have mentors. We didn't have anybody to look up to but each other. We mentored ourselves. But boy, did we have a good time doing it.
Still do?
We still do. But you know, men did not take us seriously. But we had to prove ourselves to the men in the business community. You girls have so many more advantages than we do, because I feel like that we have kind of paved the way for you all to come behind us and take advantage of all the things that we learned and all the things that we've done. And it's a proven fact that women-owned businesses have a much greater success rate than new businesses started by men. So I guess I would say I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. But I would say that one of my biggest mistakes was not taking the leap sooner. But I learned so much at my company. You know, I learned skills that allowed me to do a really great job for my clients. I learned how to run a company and have an environment in my company that was friendly to my employees. Because what I learned early on is when my employees were happy, they made our customers happy. So what I would say to you now is take the leap if you feel called to do that. And yes, be afraid, because if you're not afraid, I would be really, really worried about you. But the one thing that I would say to you is, you cannot walk on water if you don't get out of the boat.
What a story, and I know you've had such an impact in our community, so thank you, Sheila. And now I'd like to bring up our next speaker, Pat Long. Pat and her husband Dwayne founded Longistics, one of the nation's leading providers of logistics solutions in the pharmaceutical and food industries. She founded Redbird Trading, a company that helps U.S. and China retailers expand international markets. She was the first woman president of the North Carolina Trucking Association. She was appointed by Governor Perdue to the North Carolina Logistics Task Force and the North Carolina Maritime Task Force. She is also a founding member of the Centennial Authority, an appointed committee that built and manages the PNC Arena. So please welcome Pat Long. Pat.
Last night I couldn't find a portfolio, so I brought my Star Wars book to make my notes on, so in case anybody's looking. I have known these ladies right over here 20 plus years, I guess, and I found some new stuff about you today, so I was very happy to hear that, so I'm looking forward to Lana's things, but wonderful ladies and have worked very hard. My journey's a little bit different, like everyone's. And yes, you do have to be a risk taker, so that's kind of number one. You have to know that about yourself. Pretty independent type person, so it makes it a little easier when you feel that way. But I guess I call our vision, which is my husband and I started the trucking company and a staffing company the same day in 1984. So we call it $500 in a dream vision, because that's what I had. We had a mortgage on the house, we had a 4-year-old child, and we had 2 cars that weren't paid for, and a few weeks of salary probably saved, but not much. So our family and friends, oh my gosh, they came and put canned goods on the porch trying to be smarty. You know, they did everything they could because we had, you know, some pretty good jobs and we worked hard and, you know, a little family, here we are. And, but this is something that we prayed about and that we wanted to do. And so here we did, October 1984, formed 2 companies at the same time. Hardly could pay the incorporation fee to the attorneys, but we did. And didn't really have an attorney that we knew. We just went into some place and said, can you incorporate these 2 businesses? And we did. And we started on our kitchen table. So we couldn't afford a truck to have a truck for a trucking company. So, my gosh, you know. So my husband had a Wagoneer that we had a typewriter that was a manual typewriter in the back that is called Trailblazing. So you would represent other trucking companies that you would do brokerage type business. So he would meet people, because he couldn't come to our house, my gosh. So we'd meet them at truck stops and type out their trip lease and hand it to them. So that's kind of how that started. Now the staffing industry, I had been in HR and I was a customs broker and different things. So it was kind of one of those natural things, temporary staffing. We had to staff our own company. Why not? So I would go make sales calls on companies to do their truck driver leasing or their warehouse people or things that I probably would need myself. And then I could develop the people, you know, kind of through that kind of thing. But anyway, that's kind of how we started. We had no money, and about 6 months into business, and we were getting paid. I mean, we had some good Fortune 500 type customers, and we were getting paid. And so we were running it that way and paying our mortgage. We didn't get behind on anything, but we were paying our mortgage and doing stuff. But boy, it was kind of tough. So one day we're riding down the road near Crabtree, and we were talking about, we need a credit line, gee. And so we stopped at Southern National Bank, just a little bank that was the local type bank, and not the corporate main bank or anything. We stopped in there and asked to see the manager. So he came out, and he was about our age, maybe a little older, and we went back to the room with him, and we started telling him about our vision and what we were doing, and he liked us, and he listened to us. He didn't kick us out right away. And so we thought, hey, this is doing pretty good. And he said, well, how much do you think you need? And we said, well, how much can we get? Kind of thing. And so he looked at us dead in the face after a few minutes, and he said, do you have anything of value? And I said, we thought a minute, and we looked, because, we didn't have anything except, the things we owed for. And my husband had bought me a surprise right after we'd been in business. He's got a truck driver to bring us back a bird, because I'd always wanted a parrot. I'd always had birds, but I could have never afforded a parrot. So he bought me this parrot back from the quarantine station in Miami. And he's a yellow nape, and he's the best talker, lover. Still have her. And I said, we have a bird that talks. He did not laugh. He looked straight and pointed right straight at us, and he said, rare bird, $10,000. And that's how we got our first loan. So it was amazing, and we walked out of there going, wow, we got $10,000, you know what I mean? So anyway, I said, I'm going to name something that one day because that's too good a name. So years went by, and we developed not only the transportation company, but the staffing company, and we opened up in Texas, Louisiana, Atlanta, Tennessee, all these things for the staffing company doing computer things and whatever. And before I knew it, I had 2,200 employees. And then in the trucking company, we started out with just types of trucking, and we realized that we needed to be a niche carrier where we're not hauling potato chips. We need to because we weren't going to be some of the major things. So we started looking at technology, what's in today's industry. And so the technology of your satellite tracking, your all the different security type things that we could do. So we rented some trucks, and one of our friends had become one of the people at one of the leasing companies. And he said, I'm going to give you this truck because they will not fire me if you can't pay for it because it's so old. And Dwayne said, my name is on this truck. I will not get, I will always pay you. In the end, our drivers took a parade and carried it back at the end, but we added trucks and all that. But But we started in doing the high tech, like Nortel, inside deliveries, IBM, all those kind of things, and made it real specialized. And then we started seeing, you know, these things are getting smaller. They're going to be UPS things before long. They're not these giant frames and all that stuff. Now what are we going to do? So we're having a dinner party one night, and my girlfriend had sat me beside this guy that was the head of Burroughs Railroad. And he started talking to me, and he said, you know, what do y'all do, blah, blah, blah. And I told him about that we had satellites on board, and we could follow the trucks. And, you know, we were one of the first people in the United States that had this technology. And this type of thing. And he said, I want you down in Greenville tomorrow to see me. And he said, he said, you want me to send my private plane? And we went, no, we can drive down there, it's okay. So we went down there. And we went down there, and unbeknown to us, the way that security-wise, and even the pharmaceutical industry, that they kept up with trucks or trailers if they got losses, and we still paint numbers on top of trucks. So if a helicopter or somebody's looking, they can see the number 202 or whatever, on the top of these trucks. But we talked about our pharmaceutical things, and we talked about, you know, what we could do. So we worked on a security plan with them, and we were the first people to, I'm very proud to carry AZT to California. And so our pharmaceutical careers kind of started from that, and then Glaxo, and this is such a great area for pharmaceuticals. And then, you know, it got to be in our industry where somebody would say, well, who does your trucking? And they said, well, you need to call Lon. And we'd go, well, okay. And we'd get a call from a big company saying that. We'd go into San Francisco or different places and built this thing. So it was exciting and fun, and we always have kept up with the biggest technology that you could find. But we did that, and the staffing company was doing well. And then we did the warehousing. And then we decided we needed to have a foreign trade zone. And it's not where you keep foreigners. People don't know that. You know, you see the sign that says foreign trade zone, and you don't know what it is. But it's an area where you don't pay as many taxes, or you don't pay it right then. I mean, it's just like we do projects like Fila skates, for instance. When the skate comes in, the boot comes in, the wheels come in, all these other things. And it cost about $300 for these skates just to have all this and paying for it with the tariffs and all that. Well, what we did, since we're a foreign trade zone, we can change something inside the zone, and so it doesn't cost that. Or we do China, and not like China, but, you know, you're eating off China from different companies. Eating off China, whatever. Plates and dishes and stuff. And usually it's 35% tariff on that. Still, it's 35% tariff. So we're able to take it in, sell it to the cruise ships maybe, or we don't sell it, but our customers do. And it may not ever enter the country because it's not to the country, you know, the ship is not part of the U.S. So we do that. And then also they pay taxes delayed. And so they delay the taxes to when they sell something and it moves out. So that became a bigger thing. And then we got an opportunity to open one in Texas at Alliance Airport. And our partner was Ross Perot Jr. My goodness. You know, what a great partner, and I got to ride in his helicopter. So things just progress along, and you get different opportunities, and you got to take the risk, and you got to kind of go for it. So things just kind of progress. But anyway, I can talk about all that stuff all day. But anyway, my challenge. The biggest challenge for me, and sometimes it still is to be a wife, a mother, the business person, and balance all these things because you're obsessed. 80 hours a week, whatever. And our businesses are 365, 24 hours a day. They're just not, you don't go home because it's 5 o'clock or anything like that. But trucks and people are 24 hours a day. I mean, we have people working 3 shifts, Christmas Day, it doesn't matter. There's something going, and security and things have to be there. So trying to manage separating these things. I know my husband and I would say, we'd be talking about something and whatever, and I'd have to go, now wait a minute, I am right now the partner, I am not the wife. Let's talk about this as, whatever. And we would laugh about it. Very good partner in that. We've worked well together, and it's enhanced our marriage and our years together. So it's been a very great thing for us personally. My son, though, made a rule when he was little. He got so sick of hearing us talk about it that we couldn't eat it. We couldn't, while we were eating or at dinner, we would not talk business. And so we'd sit there and go, oh, no, we can't talk about it. But we would, so we had to spend time with our son and do things. And I never regret, we would change clothes in the car on the way to a t-ball game, and my husband was coach, or, we'd do all these things. But fitting all this in together is very tough, and is hard to manage and hard to separate your relationships because they have to be compartmentalized. So that's probably been my biggest life challenge. I guess the best thing, and I know you said that, the best thing I did was we went into business. We love it, and we loved all the things and all the opportunities. We've been all over the world. We've done all these things. We love the opportunities that it's given us and our family because we feel like we've worked hard. But I realized years ago that you have to kind of reel yourself in if you're thinking I'm successful in this and I'm doing this kind of thing, because it got to be I could go to a dry cleaner's and they messed up a dress or something and I'd want to start a dry cleaner's. So I'd go, stop it, you can't do that. You're not a superwoman, you're not gonna, I don't know anything about dry cleaning, but I could do it better, I know I could. So we had to work on that and kind of thing. And my husband's kind of the same way. And I go, I don't want to do that. And he talked me into it sometimes and not. So we've started 10 plus businesses. We've sold some. We've gone, that's not too good this time. But, we always paid everybody. We never went bankrupt in it. We always did a thing and we always worked through it, whatever it is. The worst thing. Okay, you gave us this y'all gave us this list, so it was a good thing to go by. It made me think some. The worst thing. First of all, I'm a positive person. So I try, that minute you're going, oh no. But then you just go on with it and you just face it and whatever. So there's lots of mistakes along the way, that you could do. But I guess our probably one that's the most recent one that was started in 2006 is we opened up with a lot of local Chinese, the North Carolina China Center, and that we went to Asia and opened up there, and they're not very good in their cold chain. And cold chain, for those that don't know, is that from your food, your pharmaceuticals, and everything else, from start to the time you put it in your mouth, has to be a certain temperature. And so they have probably 70% of their food in China that goes bad because they don't have the right temperature controls and the right things. So we can help them. We can fix China. We can do this. So we go over there and we open up an exhibition center, hence Rare Bird Trading Company. So the trading company, I got things like wines and the North Carolina furniture and Angus barn stuff and all kinds of things that North Carolina meant. In fact, Bev Perdue came over and opened up our exhibition center. And we did this to help North Carolina, and at the same time, we just thought this was great. And so, love Asia, love all the things we saw and did, and it was wonderful. But the Chinese do not want to buy anything from us. They want to sell you everything. And so the tariffs there just to get in or to do, or the licenses or what they do, is just insurmountable type things. And it made it very hard, and we spent a lot of money doing this kind of thing. So over there, my company is called Ruby Lynn, which is Good Neighbors and Friends. And so what I do now is I source things for people. which I can find over there, good sourcers and know how to do all that. And I buy things. I was always buying, I pearled Raleigh, and I've given everybody, you know, anything that they have over there, I've brought it back, and they went, hey, you need to do this. So I started that. So anyway, but that's probably, we said if Google can't make it, neither can Longistics and Rare Bird. You know, it's just one of those things. Advice. Crazy hours, don't expect 8 to 5. If you're not going to go into it and give it all, do not bother. Just stay and be comfy at your job and, you know, do whatever. Don't do that. Limit your partners. Be very careful in your partners that you pick, because partners have different ideas. They have different things going on in their lives. So you have to really kind of limit your partners. And no extended family. Tried that, done that. No extended family. You know, they're excited about what you're doing. Some of them want to come in and do different things, but it's usually not as good an idea for anybody I know. It's not just me. It's just anybody I know. I live by the 4 Ps: patience, persistence, passion, and prayer. And I put passion first because, patience first, because I don't have any. And so I try to really work on my patience thing. So that's what I live by. Also, a good accountant, lawyers. Lawyers are something that are very interesting to me. Each lawyer has its own expertise. So don't just pick one lawyer and go to them and pay them to learn your business over and over and over again. A lawyer for HR, a lawyer for contracts, a lawyer for all these different things. It doesn't matter if they're the same firm or not, but you're paying somebody else to educate someone. So pick your lawyers carefully with what you're looking for at that time. One of the bankers told us one time, in fact, he's the president of the bank in Raleigh, and I don't want to tell you who it is, but he said, bankers are your friends in thick. And we always laugh and think that is so funny, because you're going to have your ups and downs. You've got to make relationships with bankers that understand your business and that can advise you and know, okay, this is a time of year that this might be this. Things that you can talk to them about. So you need a good relationship. And that's not walking in and going, I need $10,000 again. So we were babes in the woods, but you know, you learn everything the hard way. But you know, I'm about smart enough now. I don't want to learn anything else. So the ups and downs will be there. So my advice is take a deep breath, face it head on, and enjoy the wild ride, because I wholly think that it's a wonderful thing to do. Thank you.
What a story. I'm just so amazed. I'm amazed at how the evolution takes place on how these businesses have gotten started and have been so successful. But what I'm so impressed with is how you've been able to work with your husband all those years. I mean, that could be tough.
Well, your already says you, even when you hate them, you stay with them till you love them again. So having ups and downs there too.
That's awesome.
Married 40 years. Wow.
Excellent.
So I have to tell y'all one of the funniest things Pat Long has ever said. So we're sitting at dinner one night and we're talking about, this was early on, you know, and we're all, you know, we've been working hard, and you come home and you eat out a lot. And so Pat said, so one night I decided I was going to cook dinner. And so I told our son, he said, come on, we're going to have dinner. And he went and got in the car. I just had to share
Thank you for sharing, Sheila. All right, let's move on to our third speaker, Lana Calloway. Lana founded Exhibit Resources, a company that provided branded environments for trade shows, exhibits, and corporate interiors, earning a Triangle Business Journal Fast 50 Award and Pinnacle Business Award. She successfully exited that company after 25 years and shared her expertise with the Special Event Company and Enterprising Women magazine. Lana is a member of the Women's President's Organization, which is an organization for women who have built million-dollar businesses. She is also a recipient of TBJ's Women in Business Award. Lana Calloway, let's welcome her. And Lana, tell us your story. Come on up.
Well, it's difficult to follow those fabulous stories and my dear friends, dear friends. They did give us a list of questions that we are to answer in our introduction, so I'll try to weave that in. The first question was, what made you decide to start your business? And basically, I needed a job. So, but to back up just a little bit and let you know how I got started, is in 1985, I worked for a major agricultural chemical company in Greensboro, and I was an administrative assistant and thought I had the best secretarial job in the world. That's what I went to high school for. I took shorthand and I took an accounting course, so I was prepared to be the best secretary for the rest of my life. I landed a job as a secretary in the marketing department, and fortunately for me, I was working for a woman in the corporation that managed the trade show program for that company. And one day she said, here, if you want to do trade shows, you can have it. And so she ended up being one of the early mentors that I had in building my career and building my skill sets. So I managed 50 trade shows a year for this company and found that I absolutely loved what I was doing. With just a high school education, I didn't have college background to support me, but I found that I could use the skills that I did have, which was organization, tracking, project management, basically a service mentality, because I worked for everybody in the company. I managed all of the programs for them. It gave me an opportunity to travel and to learn everything there was about the trade show industry, and I had known very little about that before. But this company was very strong with leadership development, and they taught. I got my first computer training class through that company. So I found that I was really good at those skills and decided that I had worked my way after 10 years through that company and had gone as far as I possibly could without that college degree. So I decided that I wanted to work for other exhibit houses and get the other side experience. So I worked for a couple of exhibit companies and learned the design and building and production end of trade shows. We learned the sales side of it and decided after that second employer that we didn't exactly see eye to eye, and I just thought there were different ways that I could do it, and I had enough confidence after 10 years that I was thinking about starting a business. So 2 of my clients at the time said, well, why don't you start your own business? You know you can count on us for clients. You know, we're here because of you anyway, so you can just take that to the bank. So I decided to start my own business, so how hard could that be, right? So I rented a room, and I rented a desk, and I rented a file cabinet, and I had my Rolodex, and I started Exhibit Resources in 1991. And I had 2 fabulous clients, Balson, and I don't know if you remember, that was many years ago. They were baking goods here in the area. Balson and PC Management, and I kept those clients until both of them moved on. So one of the biggest challenges I had in starting a business is there's this thing called you have an entrepreneurial seizure which means you know your industry, you know what you want to do, you have a love of something, and then there is the reality of running a business, starting a business, managing it, and it's two different things, completely two different things. I knew one, but I sure didn't know the other, and I found out quickly that you get a PhD in how to run a business, because it is just long hours, hard work. It's you learn about taxes, you learn when to hire employees, you learn about human resources, you learn all of those things as you go. One of the biggest challenges I did have in the business was the financing. I think I was always undercapitalized. I thought that $500 in the bank and starting my business was the way to get started, but after 2 years of hiring that first temp employee and knowing that we needed to grow the business, I went to a bank, not realizing that most banks require that you have 3 years in business. They want 3 years of tax records, 3 years of solid financials. They want collateral. They want a rare bird. They want, in order to give you money, they want that type of things. I was very fortunate that I went to, it was CCB at the time. They became SunTrust later, and I had a 20-some-year relationship with SunTrust because of this loyalty. This female banker was a friendly female banker, so she also wanted to help me at my second year that I needed, money to grow the business. So I went into her office with my business plan on a yellow legal pad. I didn't realize you're supposed to have a nicely bound plan with a strategic plan included with financials, but Barbara Doolittle, that I just still love to this day, decided that she would help me with my first financial need, which was a $15,000 loan backed by the Small Business Administration, and I would only get the $15,000 if I put $5,000 of it in a CD held by the bank. So that was the terms for me to get financing back in those days. A lot of times, if a woman was trying to start to get financing, they would have to have their husband co-sign, and at the time I happened to be single, so that didn't work really well. But that $15,000 loan was what I needed to start the business growing. It led to paying that loan, and eventually a $50,000 loan, and eventually a $100,000 loan that helped me grow the business over the years. So I still think fondly of that female friendly banker that gave me the opportunity to grow my business. One of the other questions they asked was, what was the best decision you ever made? I look back and I think Exhibit Resources we had a really good reputation. We had built the business to the #1 exhibit house in North Carolina, and that meant that we had clients in lots of different industries, in the pharmaceutical industry, technology, private industry, and our job was to design and build exhibits for them to take to trade shows. We stored their exhibits in our warehouse. We had staff that took their exhibits to the trade shows, set up the exhibits, tore down the exhibits, brought them back. So we managed 50 shows for some clients. We managed one major show. We had exhibits that ranged from a couple of $1,000s to a $500,000 exhibit, so everything in between. So we had a really good reputation, and people kept saying to me, you really ought to start an office in Charlotte. You ought to start an office in Greensboro. That way you could cover the state. But we took a really careful look at the commitment that was, the real estate in 3 different locations, having personnel in 3 different locations, having samples in different locations. How would we transport from Charlotte to Raleigh, from Greensboro back to Raleigh? So the best decision I ever made was not to do that, not to move forward. And I made that decision based on solid financials, solid advice from advisors, and knowing that that was a risk I was not willing to take at that point. And that proved to be a very smart decision because the economy tanked about a year after that. So I would have had, major issues to deal with. So that was following that gut that just said, the gut and the backup, not to move forward with that. It also asked, what was one of the worst decisions you ever made? And one of the worst decisions I ever made was to hire a friend of a friend. So stay away, stay away. I had a dear friend that knew of a friend that wanted a sales position. He was a high-level executive with a company, and was in California, wanted to move to Raleigh, was looking for a position, and because he'd been to a trade show once in his life, she felt like he would be very qualified. So, big mistake, because my gut kept telling me, this is wrong, don't do this, and I didn't listen to myself, and that's something you have to do too. There are times that you get the statistics, you can make a good solid decision, but there's times that gut speaks up and just says, don't do that. So don't hire a friend of a friend. So that was a tough decision because that ended up being a legal case that it took 6 months to get rid of that, clean up that mess, and it was, if I had followed that gut feeling early on, I think I could have avoided that. And some of the best advice I could give you in starting a business would be enjoy it. Enjoy it. It is hard work. It is long hours. There are moments that you're in your office with the door closed and you are just ugly crying because you're not sure about a decision or what has to happen next, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. During those 24 years that I had Exhibit Resources, both of my children ended up in the business with me, and it worked really well. My daughter had an interior design degree, and that ended up supporting the design and production side of the business. My son had been to the Navy and went to Wake Tech and got an architectural technology degree and was on the production building side of the business. So this opportunity allowed us, as a single mom and 2 kids, to have a wonderful, close relationship, travel many wonderful places together, representing Exhibit Resources. So for 25 years, it was absolutely fabulous. I sold the business 3 years ago. One thing I would say about selling a business is you really need to start that plan, have that idea in place, because sometimes that can take a year and a half, 2 years to find the right partner and make sure that you are transitioning the business the way you want to transition that. But have a good time, jump out there, do it.
Well, thanks to all 3 panelists for sharing their stories. We're going to bring up some chairs now, and I know that the time is moving along, so we're going to set up some chairs so that you all can have an opportunity to ask questions. Shall I move that? Take that off. Got it. And I'll ask Dr. Roddenberry, will I be using the microphone to the audience?
Good, yes.
Is this one on as well?
No, that's for Sarah.
Pull this off and use this. And actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk around because we have a microphone. So I think that will work out just fine. Before we get started with questions, I have one question. I'm going to take the liberty of asking. You talked about following your gut. Did Sheila and Pat, have you had that experience as well, where you just had to follow your gut, even though it may not have been what you were planning to do?
Well, yeah, but my problem is, like, I wake up in the middle of the night with an idea, and it's like, God, you told me to do that. But yeah, you do follow your gut, because when you're people like we are, and people in this room we're visionaries, we're idea people, and it's like you can't turn your brain off to just do nothing. And so, you know, all of us that have started businesses, you have nothing to back it up except a gut feeling.
The guts are very important. And you will have advisors and people that have been in business or not been in business tell you certain things. And I think one of the things as an HR person that I kind of did my whole life, you really can get a good feel of people when you have hired as many people. I said I hired everybody but a jet pilot and a brain surgeon. So you kind of get a feel for people and things like that. So, and in other parts of contracts or things or customers, one of the things that we did was have our statement of principles. And each person in our company has to know their statement of principles. And with that is ethics, who you will do business with, and how you treat each other in the company. We want them to be entrepreneurs, not just that. So your gut and all kind of takes over some of those things. But if you follow your guidelines when you set them up, then there's a lot of things to do. But I think Sheila said about people, hire slow, fire fast.
Fire fast, especially if it's a friend of a friend.
All right, let's go ahead and ask, are there any questions in the audience? And I'll come around and give you the mic, and then I'll walk back. Excuse me.
Hi ladies, and thank you again for being here. This was amazing. I just wanted to ask, I was curious if you came from a family of entrepreneurship. So like for those people that may have their, you know, their parents were into business and they kind of saw it, they lived it, they know what that really looks like. It may be an easier transition to say, I'm going to step out and have the confidence. Whereas someone who is a first-time solopreneur, kind of stepping out into a world where you don't really even know what that looks like, what advice would you give? And did you have that experience of having growing up in entrepreneurship?
Who would like to start?
I can start because it's a really easy answer. Absolutely not.
Okay.
My mother was a waitress her entire life, but I think what she gave me was that ethic of working hard, you know, she worked 12, 14 hours a day, so that gave me that same sense of, you know, working hard, getting ahead, giving my kids something that I didn't have. She did the best she could do with that, and I think that work ethic is what drove me up during that time. But no, I really didn't have mentors. Again, I went to school to be a secretary because the small town that I was from and the time I was from, I'm not telling you the year, is, that's what women did. They were either teachers, nurses, or secretaries, or they stayed home. And so that's what I got from that, and I will cherish that, you know, forever.
No, my mother was a administrative person for the Department of Health Services until she passed away last month. And, so she retired before that. But, and my dad was a bus driver. And what he did was he had a part-time used car thing on the side. That when he wasn't working, he sold some used cars. And I learned how to sell cars. I loved it. My dad was a great guy. And so that was the entrepreneur for that. On my husband's side, his dad was a minister. And his uncle had restaurants. I think it was called the Shrimp Boats. And so my husband worked at the Shrimp Boats growing up his whole life. And so he saw his uncle do well and do things like that. But that's the only entrepreneur type thing that we had.
Gosh, I was lucky. My dad was a self-made man. He didn't have a college education, but he started in a grocery store, ended up having a sporting goods store, and I remember my first job, I was 12 years old, which was child labor. But I worked in his hardware store selling red wiggler fishing worms and dipping minnows and wanting fishing license. But he would tell me, you never can make any money unless you work for yourself. And you know that even though I had jobs up until I started my first company, I always in the back of my mind remembered that. So I really did have a great mentor in my dad.
Any other questions?
I'd like to know how you guys support each other since you didn't have other mentors or role models. Look up, how did you guys support each other over the past 25 years?
Gosh. Well, we sort of we all became friends just through, I guess, through the chamber. You know, like one of the first things I did after I could afford it, after 2 years of being in business, was to join the Raleigh Chamber. And, you know, we got involved in the chamber and met each other through that, you know, doing like really grunt work for the chamber and then working our way up to be on the executive committee and chair. But still, back then, there were not women, a lot of women in business, and those of us that were, we kind of clung to each other. And we would sit around and talk about our challenges and give each other advice based on our experience from what I remember back then.
For the first few years, you can't look up to be I just didn't even look up to be a mentor or receive anything. We were too busy working. You know, I had friends at work or friends, but I didn't look up. And one of the businesses we opened was the Raleigh Edge, which was a tennis team. Billie Jean King owned it, and it was the first professional sports team in Raleigh. And so we had the tennis team. So we had joined the chamber, but we actually started to go because we needed customers to come to the game.
And so you were networking.
I was networking. And so when we did that, that started me starting to do things. So you were a small business person, head, and I was the economic development person. You did whatever. So we all kind of met that way with girls and a lot of our other friends that way. And then we just all kind of networked that way and supported each other. So I think the chamber was a very good part of what we did.
Yeah, and I always tell people too, one of the first things when people come to me about business is join your local chamber.
Get out of your office.
Get out of your office and join the chamber because it allows you associations with people in high places. And when you're doing all that grunt work, you know, and they're way up there, but they're seeing you work and you get to know them on a first-name basis.
And they have educational things.
Yeah, lots of educational things
And come to it,
and yes.
And I think, like we said, women business owners back then, when we found somebody else that was a like person, you know, you kind of congregate to them. And it was one of the first things that I did was join a local group called NAWBO, which is National Association of Women Business Owners. I mustered every bit of courage that I had to walk into that meeting one day and pretend that I could actually be in the same room with these other women business owners. So it was that first step, and it was those friendships, that networking, that opportunity, and I'm still a member of that organization, was president on the board and so forth, because then you learn to give back and you can recognize the next person that's walking into that door for the very first time and being able to reach out and mentor those kind of
Yes, dinner and wine always helps.
Dinner and wine. Read advice, we love you. Another question right across the room. What? Okay. Sure? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. First of all, I want to congratulate you. I think a phenomenal story for us to listen to, and for you to tell it in the way you told it. It was so impressive and energizing for me because for the first time I'm seeing women of your caliber that come out and say the things that happen and men don't admit, like it's hard, and I felt this, and that. I think that is very authentic. And I appreciate you saying that because I think we need to have those kinds of standing conversation that takes us to the next step where we want to be. And so I thank you for your intentional leadership. And I think you answered some of the questions earlier. You being women being an economic driver for many nations. the mentorship that happens, because many, in fact, WakeTech and many other organizations today are looking at young entrepreneurs. So when they see your image and whatever you have achieved, how do you bring up those? Like I used to tell my colleagues, when you go up, don't forget to send the elevator down. So how do you do that with young people? Because everybody wants to be a business person today, because it's the right thing. But how do we find you, or how do we really come up to you, or people like you to really take them to the next step?
I think that goes to what you guys have already been talking about, is giving back at some point, and the importance of so much that we can learn from you. What do you say?
Well, the organizations that I talked about, that is a great way to mentor the next group of women business owners. As you move up with experience and service, you're able to reach back and answer questions for those new business owners about the taxes and how to hire an attorney and what the next business stage would be for you. So I've been a member again of NALO and WPO, which is another organization, Women's Presidents Organization, and that's an organization that supports other women business owners and helps them grow their businesses to the level that they can enjoy. And we always try to hire interns so that we can bring them into the business and work for us for the summers and give them experience in our industry for about 8 or 9 years. I think we had interns that would come in and work with us. So we thought that was a good way to support somebody that might have a thought of starting their own business.
Well, one thing you can do to me is, it's not for everybody, okay? It's not. And I think that you don't want to discourage anyone, because I wouldn't want somebody to tell me, no, you can't do that. But I know at our companies, I try to make people entrepreneurs, where you give them, where they can grow and where they can have ideas and they can do things. And you can fulfill yourself within companies if they will let you. You don't have to start your own business to do that. And I know there's been some ladies or even some men that we've even offered to buy some stock in the business or do, this or that. Oh, I don't want to do that. But they were great. And they're great people, but they don't want any risk. They don't want their name on the bank line. They don't want their name on some of this. So it's not for everybody. But as long as you work in a company that you can hire people and give them a voice. I didn't have voices at some of the places I worked, but that's why I didn't want to work there. The bad apples ran off the good apples. That's what happens. So there's always those kind of people. But remember, everybody doesn't have to be out there on their own and doing that. They can be entrepreneurs. And I think that's a real important part for companies to develop people that way.
So I know that we, like us three, there are many others like us that have come up the same way we have. And I like to think about our mentoring to other women, whether they want to be a risk taker or be involved with a risk taker, is we're trying to reinvent ourselves so that there's a group behind us that is coming along. And we have a wonderful, it's kind of a group that was sort of just haphazardly put together, but we call ourselves the Overalls. And it came up one night, we were just sitting around, and we tried to come up with a better, more professional name, but nothing else describes us any better. So we probably had 200 women on this contact list that once a quarter, some of us get, there are really some high-level women in the Raleigh market that are involved in this. But these women are invited to come out for networking, another networking event. But we are there to support them. And everybody goes around and they might say, I'm new in Raleigh and I'm trying to get involved on a nonprofit board so I can give back while I'm looking for a job. Or I'm trying to get into such and such company. Does anybody know Mr. X? And out of that group of wonderful Old Broads becomes a lot of contacts for these young women that are coming up behind us. So I think that we, where we are today, owe that back to really pay it forward.
While I make my way over to the next question, we do want to remind folks that we are streaming this on Eagle Stream live. So if anybody is watching on their computer, you can text in a question and we can ask that question for you.
Thank you. I want to thank each of you for sharing your success story and sharing it with humor. So I really appreciate that. But I know when you first started, there had to be some level of fear or uncertainty. And I don't want you to go back too far, but can you just kind of share how you dealt with that, maybe a failure? Because I have a friend who tells me that I am afraid to fail. That's why I won't start my business. So can you speak to that a little bit for us?
Good question. All about taking risks.
Yeah, it is about taking risk, and you've got to be willing to take that risk. But, you know, if you don't fail, you haven't tried. So it's okay to fail. Because after you fail doing that, if you're the kind of people, crazy people like we are, you just have another idea. And you try that. You know, so something, if you're really serious about it, something's going to click. But never feel that it's bad to fail. You know, it really, really is not.
I think that you learn a lot more, they say, from your failures than you do your successes. You know, you can't be scared, like she said, to fail. You've got to move forward, you know, with that kind of thing. And I think that there's levels of failures. Oh, well, that didn't work that way, or that didn't do. But now nobody would hire me now. But back then I would say, I can always get a job.
Yeah.
And each thing that you do gives you more experience to take to something else. So it doesn't matter, you know, gosh, I didn't do that because so-and-so. And so then people go and do something else. And then you can always get a job. I mean, what's the market? 4%? We need people. So, you know, get a job. So try something and move on. But you learn something from it. So don't be scared.
I think it's natural to be scared and maybe be cautious of taking those kinds of risks. But in my case, like I said earlier, I needed a job and I knew this one thing, and I knew it was the one thing that I was really good at. And once I made the decision, it was just absolutely no turning back. It's just whatever it took. The long hours, working every weekend to get the footwork done so that I could go look for clients during the week and bringing my kids in to help me before I could pay them. But whatever it took to make it work, I had made that commitment and it was just no turning back.
Let me say one more thing. I think too that we've been in business since 1984, still, I still get scared. I still have $1 million here, which used to be $10,000. I still have some of these things. I still have all these things that you invest in or you do things. So that the or the whatever never goes away. It's just different, and you handle it differently. So it's just the way evolution is in life, that you get more adverse to it or you don't. And so some people, oh my God, I can't pay my next month's house payment or whatever. But you find a way. You find a way and move on from that. So you'll be scared the whole time you're in business in certain things. It's just the way it is. Is that true?
Okay, we do have a question from Eagle Stream. If we could ask Dr. Roddenberry to ask a question.
Yes, Laura Bethay online. I don't know if any of you know her. But she wants to know, you have to do lots of things that you don't want to do when you are climbing your way to the top. And there are things that you just have to hold your nose and suffer through. And she wants to know, for you now, at this point in your career, what is non-negotiable for you at this point in your career? what lines do you get to set as to whom you're going to work with, what you're going to do? Do you get to make any demands?
I'm still in business. I think the only thing that has been true the whole time is our statement of principles. We will not do business or involve in any unethical practices or do business with people that do. So I draw the line. If anything is shady, anything is whatever going on, or anything illegal, or any of those things, I draw the line. And so there's times that I've walked out, now we're not interested in doing those kind of things. So if you stay true to your original type things, I think you'll always be doing that. Now, some of the things I did in the beginning, I don't have to do now. But I let my employees and people know I still do it. You know, I'll never not go get somebody a cup of coffee or clean up the kitchen. You know, I'll never do something else that I did. So I don't think there's anything that I wouldn't do. But as long as you stay true to your principles and you put that in your company, I think there's not much else that I would do.
I think that pretty well answered that.
Okay. We do have another question back here.
Thank you so much for being vulnerable. I really appreciate that. So you talked about the security of your previous employment and needing that security. But I found that there's another decision that I am struggling with in terms of security, and that is the security of your retirement income, right? So I've been in corporate for over 25 years, and a year and a half ago I left. And I have a little nest egg. I'm committed to the vision of my new company. Do I touch that? How much of it do I touch? By any means necessary, well, I've got some money there. And so it's another area of security that I'm making a decision around, and that's the security of what I've squirreled away. So I made that one big decision to leave corporate, but now here's another. And I just left my financial planner before coming here, so it's a very present question that I have to ask myself.
Sure, I'm sure that that is in the minds of all entrepreneurs as well as folks who work for companies, is always thinking ahead and being ready to retire. So Shelia, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I would say not to touch that, because when we went into business, we found the money somehow to get our company started. And once you lose that money, it's gone. And I learned early on that it's better to use somebody else's money and pay it back. Because if you're using your own money, it's a lot easier not to pay it back. And that's your security for later on. Your business may succeed and be the best business ever, but then there's always that chance that maybe it doesn't, and then you've lost that money. So, you know, these other ladies may have a different opinion, but I would say not to touch your future money. But there will be some way out there that you can get enough money to start your business.
Well, I had $500 in a rare bird, so I can want somebody to ask about that. So I say the first thing you have to do is you have a vision, and you're saying to yourself, I'm not going to fail. I would spend it all and get going. I would. I mean, that's just the way I look at things. You know, you cannot worry about, hey, you're young. You got plenty of time to get school done. So to me, that's just my advice. I would do that. Now I'd be a lot more conservative because I'm a little bit, that. But I don't have to do that anymore. So it depends on your age, I guess. It depends on a lot of things. But I say get confidence. I'm not going to fail no matter what, because I'm going to make it happen. And I'll get a job flipping hamburgers on the side to make sure my business is going okay. And that's the way I would do it. So I believe in the risk because you have to believe in yourself. And you have to believe in what you can do.
Maybe it's possible to use part of that nest egg just as collateral or backup and go apply for funds or maybe a small business loan to get started, but it shows that you have some reserve if you need it, but that will give you an opportunity to use other funds to get started. But that's one of those gut questions of, that's a tough one.
Do you have a small business center here? I see more questions in the back. One second. Do you ladies have time for a couple more questions?
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, good.
Can't you tell we can talk all day?
We're really hoping that.
Thank you all for coming, and thank you for delivering those cookies for Maynard Road way back from my childhood. That boss, the cookies that you trojan. I remember passing that all the time. Now that you all have been successful, what about retirement? Are you retired, and do you ever foresee yourself retiring from the day-to-day operations of your businesses and things like that? I know you said you sold yours, you're still active, and I'm not sure about if you're in the day-to-day and things like that. So, and I hope you have a retirement for your bird. The retirement plan.
I think retirement is the hardest thing we've ever done. Seriously, when you are so driven to get up and do something every day. And I don't think we should ever retire, because when you think about the intellectual property that we've gained over the years, why would we sit back and do nothing? You know, it's like when I saw my advertising agency, talk about being scared. I was in a building that my husband and I built that we had sold. And so I had 5,000 square feet of space that I was a tenant in this building. And I decided to sell my ad agency, and they were going to stay there. And as soon as the ink was dry, they moved. So I had 5,000 square feet of space and a 2-year lease. And here I am, you know, at 70-some years old, and I'm waking up in the middle of the night worrying about a lease. Well, yeah, I went to the town and got the town of Cary to give me a grant to start a small business incubator in downtown Cary, so that I could fill up that space. And now I have 15 tenants, small businesses that I can mentor to, and that I can help them. You know, and so yes, I am retired. But I will say to you, I'm busier now. I wonder now when I had time really to do the stuff that I did. But it's fun, you know, to be able to take all this knowledge that we gained and to give it back. It's just like you asked your question and you got 3 different opinions, which is not unusual. But it's 3 different ideas of knowledge that we were able to give to you. And you can pick whichever one you want to. You know, but I would say no, we'll never retire.
I'm just tired of not retiring. I've slowed down some, and I have different things. But I can tell you this, I still know if every truck's late. I still, because I'm on, you know, I'm instant online with everything I do. I know what's going on. I can feel my gut, the drums beating on what's going on. I know what's going on. I still keep up with the customers. I'm not there every time, but I enjoy that. We've made the long-term relationships over the years, and they want to see along. So we're, you know, still involved and still there. So, but I don't, you know, I bite my tongue and don't say anything sometimes when I read something. But they'll work through it. There's different ways to skin a cat. But at the same time, you just kind of do other things, like today, doing something else.
Yeah.
I sold the business 3 years ago, and part of the contract that I have is, you know, I completely sold the business and then took some time off. But after you do those little projects that you want to do, and you clean out the closets and update your photo albums. There's still so much I want to do. So what I've done is channeled my time and effort into a nonprofit that I'm working with, Triangle Down Syndrome Network. And I'm working with that group to help them build that organization. So I'm using my skills, I'm giving up my time, I'm doing all the things that you think you would never do again, but we are. But I'm helping this organization grow, and it's such fulfilling work. So again, I don't think I'll ever 100% retire either, but really enjoying giving back to the community.
Did you have another question?
Always our bodyguard.
That's right. Wow, great stories, ladies. Enjoyed coming up the elevator with you. I want to know about your systems, your daily rituals that get you going, and if you deviate from your daily ritual, be it prayer, meditation, journaling, whatever it is you do to get your creative spirit going, and if you don't do this or you don't follow your system, you've had a bad day, or if somebody's messing up your day, or it's not good. So good, bad, ugly, daily rituals or your systems.
And maybe how many cups of coffee did you start?
Yeah, it would be a coffee first. Yeah, it would be that first cup of coffee. My daily devotion really starts my day, gets me going. When the weather's nice and it's not 20 degrees, I like to walk 2 miles. But normally I have my day planned, and it's different every day. You know, it could be a board meeting or whatever. But I like to have a plan. But then, like, I like to have a day that I call my free day, that I really can work in my yard or do things that I didn't normally do when I had to work. So to me, every day needs to start with prayer, because I'll tell you, without it, I could have never survived everything, you know, through the years that I've gone through.
We have a chaplain at our company, and he writes a everyday thing for us. And so we read that. I read it when I get up, and it's always something good, and he puts stuff on Facebook for us and whatever. It's more employee type driven that we do that. He puts it on Twitter too. But I read that, and I'd love to say I do yoga every morning, but darn it, I've tried, and I just can't get there every day. But the main thing I do, which is really ridiculous, if I get up and I don't feel like doing something, I throw on a color. Because you always wear black, I throw on red and blue and purple and whatever, and it just brightens my spirit, and I'm out the door. But people energize me. So if I'm at home going, blah, and I get in the car and I get to the office or I go somewhere like this, y'all energize me. And I think that's the thing. You have to love what you do. I love people. And so people give me the energy to do whatever I'm doing. And it's always changing every day. Whatever I plan to do seems to not get done, and I do something else.
I would say a good strong cup of coffee and some inspirational reading. I do different books that I read, something short, something to just get me uplifted for the day. But that, and when it's nice weather, try to get out and walk a little bit too.
Any other questions before we wrap it up?
What fantastic stories you have.
They haven't even started.
That's the wonderful thing about this, is because you have it, you just begin in life.
But with each story that you told us, you've gone through a transformation. We've heard about your journey. So what I'd like to ask you is, how are you documenting this?
Great.
I see books. I see workshops. I know you go to speaking engagements. That's not without a shadow of doubt. We can tell that. But how are you actually recording it so it can be a legacy that's left after you're no longer here on this earth? Ooh.
Can you look at the end of
They're probably loud enough, but go ahead, I'll let you start.
Well, I have written one sitcom that I've never done, but it's called Temporary Insanity. And it's the people coming in in to apply for jobs, I've got a million stories from those people. I mean, it's just insane, some of the people that come in with a bird on their shoulder, which I couldn't believe, or, you know, just some of the things. And I said if there was as many people with their cars broke down that can't come to work as that, we couldn't drive in Raleigh. So, funerals, right, funerals. You cannot, you know, so that. And so I have done that. And the second, I'm working on a book called Climbing Mount Tai. And Mount Tai is the tallest mountain, holy type mountain in Asia. And I was hoping the book was going to be about the giant success. But instead, it's going to be about the trials and tribulations and some of the things that you went through. So that whatever. So I don't know if it'll ever get done, but that was, I did the title and then I started writing the book.
Well, I did have scrapbook. It's from the 25 years of the company, starting from my original sketch on a piece of paper with crayons, sketching out what the logo might look like and what the colors would be. So from that original sketch all the way through 25 years of the three different locations that we had, some of the employees that we had, the Christmas parties, the service awards that we had, some of the awards that the companies won. We've got photos of that. So I have this huge scrapbook of those 25 years that we're really, really proud of. So I do have that. I'm very proud of it.
Awesome. Well, good for you, girls. I guess most of mine, seriously, is in my head. I am writing a book, but it's not about my business career, unfortunately. But I'm writing a book about my house that is quite entertaining as well. But now that you bring that up, you know, we probably should get the old Ross together and collaborate. And collaborate on something.
Well, let me just say thank you to our wonderful panelists, if we can give them a round of applause. Don't hire extended family or friends. Number 2, you have to have guts in more ways than one. Right. And if you want to start a business, make sure you have a rare bird. Thank you very much.
Y'all can come see my rare bird.
Barbara, do you have a few closing remarks, Barbara, or Katie? Are we okay?
I'm sorry, what you say?
Closing remarks? I didn't know if Barbara was going to close us out, or did you have anything? I'll just say,
Oh, I got this. So we have party gifts for you guys.